I'm Jessica. Right before I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was 39. I was a mom of 2 kids and a wife, PE teacher, elementary PE. I worked out multiple times a week, going for walks, going for runs, felt like I was super duper healthy. Then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think that the biggest obstacle was the month and a half of radiation. The actual radiation was okay, but the period of time was difficult just because it was the month of February. It was super cold. We had a lot of snow. Some days I felt super great, and then a lot of days I didn't have any energy at all. I was trying to work, drive to radiation in the snow, and they would cancel. And then in the middle of that month, I was given the news that I was going to have to try this new drug. The main side effect is 8 to 12 episodes of diarrhea a day. I was given this during my radiation. I lost my eyebrows and my eyelashes. It was just like the perfect storm of misery, basically. I think the lesson I grew through that is that there's only one way through, and that is to just take it one moment and one day at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And for me, it was one day at a time. 3 books that made a big impact on my journey. The first one is a book that I read right when I got diagnosed in the waiting period of the doctor's appointments and the scans. And that book was Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. And that book helped me to kind of reframe the thoughts in my head and reflect on my previous life and adversities that I had been through prior to breast cancer, and how I could use those to kind of fuel me, to give me energy to prepare for the cancer journey. The second book is The Power of Positive Thinking, a great book about how we speak to ourselves and the mind-body connection. That book helped me prepare for chemo and the daily grind aspect. During chemo, I read Love, Medicine, and Miracles. That was another great book about the exceptional patient and what they do in order to kind of heal themselves again through the mind-body connection. Okay, what do I do to keep my mind in the right spot? I immediately, within 24 hours, was able to say to myself, I cannot worry about what I cannot control. So I was laser focused on movement, nutrition, and mindset, and what I could do. So everything I did every day was one of those 3 things. And if it didn't fit into that category, I did not do it. If people were being negative, I walked away. If somebody was complaining, I walked away. For the first time ever in my life, I took myself and did the best thing for me. I never had done that before, and I don't know why I'm crying, but I guess this is emotional. It was the first time I ever put myself first. So that was like a big thing for me. Throughout chemo, I was like going through chemo and working, and I started my everyday. I woke up early. I made a slideshow of guided imagery, positive affirmations, scriptures, pictures of things that made me happy. And every day, that was how I started it. I think that 100% minimized my side effects from chemo. I think it put me in the right frame of mind to make it through the day, even though I didn't necessarily feel good or I didn't have energy, but I could be present with my family, I could be present at home, and I made it through. I learned right away that it is okay to be vulnerable with other people. Throughout my life, anytime something went wrong or was difficult or it was hard, I was always the person that was like, I'm okay, I got this, I can do it. And I didn't let people in, and I didn't really talk about it. And I was always just kind of tough. And I think as soon as I was diagnosed, I knew that I would not be able to do it on my own and that I needed help. So I was able to let people in, and people want to help and they don't know how to help. For me, just being able to open up and share how I was really feeling and how I was really doing, first of all, it made me feel so much better. It gave my family and friends the opportunity to be in with me and know what I needed, and it really ended up being very beautiful. They actually laughed because we made it very light. I remember my daughter saying, "Why were you crying on the phone when the phone rang the other day?" And I told her that I had a bump on my boob, and she immediately busted up laughing. And so it ended up being like kind of funny. They didn't really know what the bump was, nor did we fill them in on that until we thought that it was the right time for them to know. It ended up being perfect because they weren't stressed or worried or anxious about it, and we had asked our family and friends to not talk about it at the beginning. Through the journey, I went through surgery, I lost my hair, chemo, radiation. They were great. My daughter was 10, my son was 8, and they handled it like champs. They were great. In life, I have always been a sweater. I teach PE, and I just have always been a sweater. So I have tried to ditch the deodorant that is terrible for you, but I hadn't made it because every time I would do it, I would smell terrible. So obviously when I got diagnosed, I made sure I knew that that was the first thing I needed to do. So I switched to the aluminum free. Well, the aluminum free didn't work very well because I was used to the one with the aluminum. And so I smelled terrible. Well, the day that I had a second biopsy on my other breast, the other side, not the cancer side, because there was a suspicious spot. The radiologist cut my nerve, so I started bleeding into like a hematoma. And so the nurse had to press for like an hour. She had also been through breast cancer, so it was great because we connected and she gave me a lot of hope. But she was pressing on my boob. Well, the whole time I'm trying to keep my armpits closed while she's pressing this because I didn't want to be the smelly patient. Well, then it would not go down. So they had to wrap my body with this big old ace bandage. So they were like, stand up, lift your arms up. Oh, I had to stop them right then and there and say, I just have to prepare you because I smell. Because my body was going through detox. Well, one of the nurses actually told me, she was like, your body's going through detox, it's fine, we deal with this all the time. We were actually in masks, we had to be in masks at that time, so I was hoping that they had just like put like some cotton balls or something in their nostrils to block the smell. But it was super embarrassing because I had to raise my arms up knowing that I was emitting this terrible, funky odor. I do have advice, lots of advice, but I think the first and foremost is to let people in and let them help you. I know that it felt so good even before I got the cancer diagnosis. When I had the questionable biopsy and the ultrasound, I told my husband, and then I was like, we're not telling anybody else. But I ended up then being able to talk about it with other people, and it really actually helped. It gave me a lot of comfort. So I would definitely say let people in, they want to help. And second, get a mentor through Faith Through Fire. Like, so helpful to talk to somebody else that has been through it. The waiting game, it's a lot of mental game. The whole thing is mental. Every aspect is in your mind. So I think that for me, at the beginning, I tried to fill my time with what I could control. My husband and I probably went on 3 walks a day. It was during the summer, so we were both home. We walked a ton. We played a lot of games, board games, card games with our kids, and that helped. I read a lot, I worked out, I ran. It was just like trying to make it through every day. As far as the scans and the doctor's appointments, I have learned that I have to tap into the present. So every day or before an appointment or a scan, I have developed a habit of doing breath work and taking a cold shower or a bath. You might be like, well, how in the world does that help you? It makes me feel right now and not like worry about the future and what could happen, and really not worried about that, because if I'm worrying about the future now, then I'm really not enjoying where I am in the present, and well, that's just not really very much fun. Another thing that I always had in the back of my head was that my kids were watching everything I did. They had a front row seat to how to handle a tough moment and life's struggles. Always having that in my head, knowing that they were watching me, gave me a lot of power, because I was able to control what I was doing so that they in the future will know how to handle when things are hard for them, or at least that's my hope.